So, absolutely great to be here. So, kia ora everyone, my name is Alexia. A bit about me, I'm 19 years old, part Greek, part Samoan. I'm the founder of GirlBoss New Zealand and its Australian counterpart, Changemaker Australia. And I'm passionate about creating the mini versions of you, creating the technologists of the future. And in fact, I've always been passionate about technology. Just the other day, I was going through old files on my computer and I found a slideshow CV I created when I was 8. I was like, you know what? I'm going to include it in my presentation today. So here it is, a slide from my slideshow CV I created when I was 8. And I like it because I feel like it provides a bit of insight into me. And I said my hobbies at 8 was I love the computer and I like making PowerPoints. Which is quite funny because now my day-to-day, I get to go around and speak to amazing audiences like yourself, which involves making a lot of PowerPoints. So living the childhood dream. And yeah, from the age of 8, I really realized that IT was the place for me. It was sedentary. I heard you didn't even have to walk downstairs. They had slides. Well-paid, tech talent drought. Felt like anyone with a pulse could get a job. It's like, no, it was a no-brainer. I was on to a winner. And so at 8 years old, I was extremely passionate and committed to going into a career in IT. But what I noticed is as I got older, my passion for IT started to make me feel isolated. When I was in year 12 in high school, at my co-ed high school, I was the only girl studying digital technology. And in year 13, I was the only girl in my advanced physics class. And I just couldn't understand when my friends around me were so capable and so intelligent, yet weren't having the confidence to go in these fields. But is it any surprise, despite the fact there's so many incredible women in IT, when we go and we speak to young people today and we ask them, name a famous person that works in IT, we're getting Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, that are just rolling off the tongue. And actually, when I was in high school, one day I went along to a hackathon, and it was a tech business hackathon, and we had this incredible speaker come on stage and gave a really inspiring speech, and he showed this picture right here. He said, if you code really hard, and if you work really hard, and if you study really hard, one day you can grow up to be like these guys. Does anyone know who these guys are? Does anyone want to tell me? Anyone? Do you want to yell it out? Who's these guys? Not Facebook, not PwC, I think, not PwC. Yep. So these are the founding members of PayPal. Founding members of PayPal. They said, if you work really hard, one day you can grow up to be like these guys. I remember sitting there in the audience and thinking, oh, I don't know if I can see myself in these guys. I don't even know if I want to be like these guys. I do now. And it's really, really powerful. These are the role models who put up with us. But so these were the founding members of PayPal back then. This is what they look like today. Also referred to as the PayPal Mafia, which just goes to show you're not uncool, you're just not rich enough yet. So I wasn't to be deterred, and in year 12, I entered a coding competition put on by the local university. And after 2 days full of competition, I studied hard, I coded hard, I was delighted to be announced as a winner. I just received a $30,000 scholarship to study computer science at university, a prize pack which included a brand new laptop and a paid job at IBM at 16 years old. I was stoked. The dream that I had at 8 years old of a secure, wonderful, glamorous job in IT was all lined up for me. The next day, I went into my high school, and my teacher announced the news to the boys in my coding class. And she said, Alexia's just won a $30,000 scholarship to go to university, and she's going to be leaving at the end of this year to go study that. And I was waiting for the claps, the applause, the slap on the back, congratulations, Maybe even my laptop and my computer in the computer lab was going to have a plaque on it. I was hopeful. That would have been nice. Instead, I was swarmed. I remember the boys telling me, "You only won it because you're a girl." And then, I think they just wanted to use for the promotional ads. I thought that was quite a compliment, actually. And I really started to question whether or not, this was the right path for me. And I remember, coming away from it feeling quite dejected. And, from that moment, they say that injustice, and when you feel that injustice, that's where the best place resolve takes hold. And from that moment, I realized that my love of tech was no longer just about me. It was about all the young women out there who were struggling to realize whether they were in the right place and weren't supported in their dreams and their ambitions. And spurred by the data, as a data lover, I did some research and I looked at the statistics. Currently, if we look at the NZX, we see 2.8% of those CEOs are women. But it gets even weirder. Watch this. 2.8% of our NZX CEOs are women. 7% of our NZX CEOs are named David. 7% are named Mark. And then we're seeing 2.8% are named women. So it means we've got more CEOs on the New Zealand Stock Exchange today named David than CEOs who are women. Is there anyone here named David? Any CEOs named David? Yeah, there's one. Nice and brave like that. So really, really seen huge work to be done. Another stat that sucks, 3% of VC funding goes to women globally, and 3% of high school girls, so this is based on 15-year-old girls in New Zealand, are even considering a career in technology today. 3%. And I realized that I needed to do something about these statistics. And at 16 years old, I was looking at these statistics and going, there's something that needs to change. And so I realized that that was what I was going to commit my life to. And from there, GirlBoss New Zealand was born. And it's been an amazing journey. 2.5 years later, we've got over 8,000 members and 2,200 ambassadors, making us the second largest young women's network in New Zealand, and the leading voice on young women in STEM, which is pretty awesome. And a common question that I get asked is, how do we change the conversation? How do we make sure more of our young people are going into STEM careers? And I believe that the trick is we need to understand Gen Z mindset. So what's Gen Z? So Gen Z are the demographic cohort after millennials. I'm a Gen Z. So they're born in the late 90s, and they're not yet 20, which is quite cool. That's the name of my presentation, Not Yet 20. I'm hoping to start actually a Gen Z consulting business called Not Yet 20, but I haven't trademarked it yet, so please, in this room of friends, no one take it. Thank you. Not Gen Z mindset. So I thought, because Gen Z, we do have a very short attention span, we're going to make it a game. Okay, we're going to make it a game. And we're going to make it a game which some of you, very similar to a game that some of you might know very well. And this game is called Tinder. Who here has heard of Tinder? Who here's on Tinder? Yeah? Everyone's like, never seen hands drop so fast. Come on, there must be someone on Tinder here. So there's someone in the back. Nice, I thought I recognized you on the way in. So, really, really seen. Swipe right equals yes, swipe left is nah. So I'm going to be saying Gen Z traits. If you agree that that is a Gen Z trait, you yell out swipe right. And if you don't, then you yell out swipe left. We got it? Okay. And actually, fun fact, swipe right is even used in slang nowadays. So next time you have a good burger and your teenager asks you how it was, just reply swipe right. They'll be super impressed. Okay, so 83% of Gen Z sleep with their smartphones. Are they digitally literate? Swipe right, swipe left. What do we reckon? I like it. That's a brave soul. So the answer actually is swipe left. So despite the fact that 83% of Gen Z sleep with their smartphones and they are digital natives, when we look at digital literacy in Gen Z, we're still seeing it's very low. And in fact, only 0.4% of young girls will go on to study computer science, and particularly in the older demographic of Gen Z, very low digital literacy in terms of computing competency. So predictions showing a tech talent shortage for your business. Okay, are Gen Z idealistic? Swipe left, swipe right. I like how it goes right, then left. I like it. Okay, so the answer is swipe left. Swipe left. Despite, in contrast to their millennial older siblings, Gen Z are actually being described as realistic and pragmatic. Gen Z grew up in the 2008 global financial crisis and are security seekers looking for security in a whirlwind world. Is Gen Z fearful? Is Gen Z fearful? What do we think? Swipe right, swipe left, okay. Swipe right, I think that was a general consensus. So yes, Gen Z are very fearful. So we've seen they grew up in the global financial crisis. They're connected to their smartphones, which are, global tragedies have been piped into their smartphones 24/7. And they don't know a world without rapid technological change. And the result of that is that Gen Z are being described as overwhelmed, overcommitted, and overconnected. And I'll give you a moment just to read through these stats on Gen Z that was done on a study of 2,000 teenagers last year. Yeah, so this is on US data. We don't have New Zealand data at the moment. We've got Australian data, but this one's on US. Yeah. I can't hear you. I can't hear him. Yeah, but really interesting. When I go into schools and I ask them to identify problems, so I do kind of similar to what we do in the last challenge, which is they have to come up with a tech solution to a problem they see in their community. Because they're so globalized, they're actually connected to problems outside of them. And actually, one of the most common answers I get when I ask them, what's the problem? So it's not in their community, it's a problem they see in the world they can solve with tech. A lot of the time they talk about things like school shootings, they talk about various issues were actually global issues and not in New Zealand, but because they're constantly connected to it. So, they're 19 years old and they know about these problems that are happening in the States. And we look at a lot of the influences of young people in New Zealand are actually outside New Zealand as well. So a lot of worry there. So are Gen Z passionate about changing the world? Swipe right, swipe left. Swipe right, exactly. Gen Z are definitely passionate about activism and youth change. Does anyone know what was trending on teen Twitter just last month? So teen Twitter just last month was #IfIDie in a school shooting. This was #1 tweet on teen Twitter last month. And in less than 24 hours, 70,000 teenagers, these were all teenagers, were going to Twitter and saying what would happen if they died in a school shooting. And we're seeing huge growth in the amount of teenagers turning to platforms like Twitter to express their disbelief and their shock about social issues that are happening around them. So who started this campaign? So these were the survivors of the Stoneman Douglas school shooting. These are some of the most influential teenagers alive today. The girl in the front's got 1.65 million Twitter followers. She's only 17 years old. And these are the young people that the young people are looking up to. Millennials had the Kardashians, and what Gen Z want is they want activists. So here's a snapshot of what's hot and what's not with youth of today. Really seen, yeah, some of you are taking a photo, I like that. I love it. There's always like two type of people. There's some people with the phone instantly up and some people just watching the rabbit dance. So here's a snapshot of what's hot and what's not of the youth today. And at GirlBoss New Zealand, we harness the Gen Z mindset to make STEM careers interesting and relevant to young women. We want to change the conversation and ensure that more young women are considering these paths. We run a Change Make Her workshop, which is a 2-hour workshop to emphasise the social purpose of STEM careers. And by the end of this year, young women from 50 schools across New Zealand will have gone through our program. We inspire young women. We put role models in front of them that they can relate to, and we share how they can change the world through developing their STEM skills. And I share the story of young women, like my very good friend here, Natalie. So Natalie has a really powerful story. Natalie is currently 17 years old, but when she was in intermediate in year 7 and 8, like many other young people across the world, she was a victim of bullying. She was physically bullied, verbally bullied, she was pushed downstairs, she was scratched, she would come home every day distraught. And every single day throughout intermediate, she sat alone at lunchtime. For not one day throughout year 7, 8 did she have someone to sit with. Now she was lucky, she was able to move to a high school in a different area and get past that. But she still thought back, and when she was 16 and she was passionate about tech, she still thought back the fact that there's so many other young people in the world going through what she went through. And so at 16 years old, she created an app called Sit With Us, which is a lunchtime planning app which allows students to host a table and ensure no one eats alone at lunchtime. And in just over a year, she's now got 100,000 active monthly users of her app in over 8 countries. And it was incredible because we were sitting in a conference in New York one day, and she was able to, we were eating breakfast, she was able to pull up her app tracker and see that 40,000 people had logged into her app over the past 7 days. And I think this is such a powerful story that I put in front of the young woman I work with, because I show that she is a normal teenager, but she is able to reach and impact hundreds of thousands of people through technology. And what other way can we make such a big impact on society as a young person than through tech? And our Change Make Her workshops have been really successful. We've worked with University of Auckland Faculty of Engineering to track participants that go through our program, and seen shifts on their STEM mindsets once going through the program. So before, 48% interested in a career in STEM, and then and then afterwards, 97% interested in a career in STEM, which is really awesome. And really motivating for me, because it shows that we can do something to change our women in STEM statistics. And if we provide context which young women can relate to, and we market it in a way which appeals to them and their values, then we can do something within this generation to ensure that we reach full gender equality within STEM fields. So what's the secret? What's the most effective strategy to encourage young women into STEM? That's the question, and I'm going to do a poll on you guys right now. I'm going to give you 1 minute to look through these, and then we're going to vote on what you think is the most effective strategy to encourage, so they're all effective, but the most effective strategy to encourage girls into tech. Okay, is that enough time? We've got our votes? Okay, so I'm going to go through them now. So raise your hand on what you think it is. So number A, discussing the underrepresentation of women in technology. No hands. B, have a girls-only technology class. Yep, a few of you, nice. C, having a female technology teacher. Oh, that's a big chunk of the room. D, having female guest speakers in technology class. Wow, nice. E, discussing the work of women in technology class. Okay, so really seeing those final three, with D being the most and those final three being our top three. Now this is really interesting because I've shown this report to multiple people, and actually not one room of people have got the answer right yet. So the answer is A. Yeah, this is a report done by University of Miami, and something which I wholeheartedly agree with. If we want to encourage young women into technology, the most effective way we can do it, and I know because I watch when I talk about the underrepresentation of women in STEM, I see their eyes light up. I see that they want to be the ones who go forth and deliver that change. I see them with their activist mindset, seeing that injustice and wanting to do something about it. And like young women, like all generations before, young people, like all generations before, want to be part of something bigger than themselves and want to be working towards a bigger movement. And through GirlBoss New Zealand, we provide that community the space where they belong and a space where they can contribute to something bigger than them. Which brings me to the overall vision of GirlBoss New Zealand and my own personal mission. And that is, every young person in New Zealand is equipped with the skills and confidence they need to not only survive the Industrial Revolution, but thrive in it. So thank you.